This is a video tutorial of contributing a manual test case to the Ubuntu manual test case project. I'm going to actually be going through the walkthrough that you can find on the QA Teams wiki, and you can see the address here, and I'll link the address below the video. So let's get started. In order to contribute, you're going to need a couple things. Basically, you'll need to have Beezer installed, and you'll need to have a Launchpad and Ubuntu SSO account. In addition, you're going to need to make sure that your Launchpad account and your computer is set up to contribute code properly. You'll need to have an SSH key set up, and etc. If you're curious, you can go ahead and take a look at the tutorial for that, and there's a video in my channel as well that covers how to set up your computer for Launchpad. So, things you need to know before we begin. The Ubuntu manual tests project is the repository for all of the manual test cases that we utilize during manual testing on the QA tracker. And the QA tracker is how we record our results against those test cases and how we coordinate our testing events. And you can learn more about what the QA tracker is and some tutorials about submitting results and that sort of thing by following that link. And there's also a video on my channel that covers a little bit more about the QA tracker and how to submit results to it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the test case project as it is in Launchpad. You can see here you can browse the code, and if we go take a look, we can see that we can actually branch the code, and we'll be doing that in a second. And the other thing we can do is actually look at the bugs, and specifically the bugs that have been marked as to do. So these are tests that are needed or things that are otherwise needed to be done. So this is a handy place to look if you're wanting to contribute something but are unsure of what to contribute or what is needed. So once you understand what exactly is it you want to contribute, maybe you've picked a bug off of here, or you found something while testing and you found a mistake in a test case or something similar, and you want to contribute and help fix that. So let's go ahead and make a new directory, and I've called it manual tests, and then we will cd into that directory, and then we're going to go ahead and branch the Ubuntu manual test project. And again, you can see this branch and the command to do so under the code tab on the project page. So as you can see, we branched 10 revisions, and we should now have the Ubuntu manual tests all checked out and sitting on our local machine. So let's say you had a test case that you wanted to fix. You found a spelling error or something like that in a test case and you wanted to fix it. As you can see, all the test cases are laid out here. They're divided as of right now into 3 separate folders for hardware, images, and packages. Those just line up with the various trackers image to the iso.qa.ubuntu.com tracker. The packages folder contains the packages.ubuntu.qa.ubuntu.com tracker test cases, and hardware contains the laptop.qa.ubuntu.com test cases in it. So let's just go ahead and take a look and say we found an error in the rhythm box test case on packages.qa.ubuntu.com. Here we can see the rhythm box test case, and we can actually go ahead and edit it, and I'll just open it real quick. Okay. And so you can see the test case here, and let's say we wanted to make an edit to it. We can actually just make it our own misspelling. There we go. And let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so now we actually have a change, and we can look at Bezier status and see that we have modified one test case. Now we can actually make a commit here and say that we fix the misspelling. We can be more specific, saying we fixed the misspelling for last FM, and we could go ahead and commit that. I'm going to cancel it because I don't actually want to commit my change. And from there, we could then push these changes up to the project itself. And if you take a look at code, it tells you that you can push a branch directly to Launchpad with this command. And so I can actually push this change up to the project and get ready to submit a merge request by pushing a new branch. And what will happen is that branch will actually show up right here, and then after I click on that branch, and I'll just take the actual trunk branch as an example, but assuming this was the branch that we just committed, I can then actually propose that branch for merging, and the target branch will be the actual trunk branch for this. I can add a description of the change, and I can propose a merge, just like that. And once the merge has been proposed, someone from the team will actually take a look at it, and it can get into the trunk and then get fixed, and it will be fixed on the tracker. So I'm actually going to revert that change that I made. Oops, very quickly. And then let's move on. So let's say we wanted to actually write a new test instead of creating a fix for an existing test. So this walkthrough actually briefly goes through exactly how you need to think about writing a test case. In this case, I'm actually going to pick something that I think everybody knows about. I'm just going to go up here to my time and date settings and pull up the time and date menu. Let's say I wanted to write a test case for this. As you can see, it's telling us that we need to create these action steps and then create a series of expected results. So let's write a test for just one aspect of this application here. Let's just go ahead and look at the clock tab, and if you're like me and you work with people all around the world, it's handy to have different locations. So if we wanted to write a test to make sure that when we added a location that it showed up in the My Indicator menu above, what will we do? Well, you can see I've already started, right? Let's add Denver. Oops. There we go. Okay. I've now added Denver. And we actually just went through a series of steps without necessarily realizing it. And those are the steps that we need to record, right? Before we can even talk about our expected results. In this case, simply put, my expected results, I expect Denver to now appear in my list up above in my time and date settings. But let's talk about the action steps that we took to get to this point. And in fact, let's actually record them. So first thing I did was actually open time. I opened the time and date settings. Then I actually clicked the clock tab. Then I clicked the choose locations button, and I made sure in this case it was already checked, but again I have to think about coming from a fresh perspective, so I would need to tick the time and other locations checkbox. And in fact, I then clicked the green add location button, and I then typed a new city, and you saw that it auto-completed. So I need to add that action. And then finally, well, I guess that was it, wasn't it? That was it for all of our actions. So we are now caught up to the point that we have added Denver. Now, obviously, there were some expected results, and we already talked about the last expected result. The last expected result was actually that the city I selected should now appear in the time and date, if I can type, the time and date menu up above. But there was expected actions for all of these, right? When I opened the time and date settings, I expected the time and date applet to appear. When I click the clock tab, I expected it to transition to show me the options, right? So it should be focused. When I tick this time box here, right, I expect the choose locations button to be selectable, and indeed it is. And when I click this, I expect a locations window to appear. When I click this green add button, I expect a new line, right, and a text input field for me to type in things. And then finally, when I actually type in a city name, I expect this autocomplete list to appear. Okay, so you can see I've now actually just gone through and written in English a manual test for one aspect of the time and date applet here. And so we've actually gone through the first couple steps of creating actions and creating expected results. Now you'll notice that the next thing we actually have to do is make sure that our formatting is correct. So if we click the link, we can see that it actually wants this HTML format. So I've got this raw text here, and I just need to make it look the same as this. So if this looks sort of scary to you, it's not really. You just need these DL brackets at the top and the bottom, and all we're really doing is making a list. The other piece is adding this bit of text along the very bottom, which is that lovely text that you see explaining how to submit a result. And then for the middle, for each action, I just enclose it with these DT tags, DT/DT. And then for each expected result, I add these DD tags, DD/DD, and so forth. So now that I have my new test case, I can actually contribute it. So let's go ahead and finish formatting this quickly. And then I'm going to save it. And we're going to go ahead and make a new commit and contribute it. and we'll actually go through the process then of contributing the test case, and you'll see it show up, and I'll demonstrate how to actually do a merge request as well. Now, obviously, when you're at this point in the process, this formatting can be a bit fun, but the other thing that you'll want to do is actually run through this again and take a look at it and make sure that you can follow the steps yourself, right? So it's helpful to have a friend or somebody else actually try and run through your test case, but you should as well, and follow each step and make sure that the expected result, as you've written it down, is what actually occurs, and make sure that you haven't skipped or missed any steps. And doing things like capitalizing and making sure your punctuation and grammar and your sentences make sense is all part of this process. So we're going to assume that we've done all that for this test case. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And we'll save it in our manual test folder. And we're going to save it under packages. And I'm going to call it time and date. Okay. Now if we look at Bazaar, it doesn't know what this time and date test file that I just added is, so we need to add it to our repository. Oops. We're already in packages, so it's just this. Okay. Now if we check the status, we can see that it sees one file. I can go ahead and commit it. I can add a commit message. You can now see that I have a new revision, and now I can push this. And you can see here, giving you the information, and you can see this as well on the code page for Ubuntu manual tests that I can push. So I'll save myself from typing, copy paste, and I'll just name the branch time and date. And that's going to go ahead and push up to Launchpad, and it created a new branch. Now if we go ahead and refresh this page, we'll actually see this branch pop up. There it is, and we can click on it, and people can browse it, do whatever. And you can also see that we can propose this for merging. So assuming that I've actually finished with my test case here, I can go ahead and propose this for merging. As you can see, the target branch is going to be Ubuntu manual tests. I can describe my change. And then I can propose the merge. And this creates a merge review request. And you can see that one of the test case admins will actually be reviewing it, which is a whole team of people. They'll review your test case, they'll give you feedback, you can add comments, they can add comments, and then ultimately your new test case will be merged into the manual test project and added to the tracker. So I hope this helps you understand the flow for the process of how this works, and hope to see some contributions from everyone. Thanks.